Well, good morning. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you, Sharon, for those wonderful comments, and Devira, and to the League of Women Voters, and for all of you for being here, and all the other organizations, to come out here to talk about this really exciting agenda, a really amazing agenda. I wish we could duplicate this in many different places, so we hope we have that opportunity. So, as Vera mentioned, I work with Environmental Entrepreneurs, which is a national nonpartisan organization that basically we work with businesses to lift up the business voice around the clean energy economy. So we do a lot of policy work on the state and the federal level, and I'm the Pennsylvania advocate for E2. So I know you thought that I was here to talk about clean energy, but really today I'm going to be talking about this goose. I don't know that that was on the agenda or not, but so we thought, I really love this goose, and I really wanted to tell you about her. But anyhow, so this goose is a very special goose, and you may have heard of her before in stories, and maybe thought she wasn't real, but she really is real, and she really does lay these golden eggs. And obviously I'm referring to the clean energy economy as this goose that's laying the golden eggs. And for a long time, we have, for a while, it's not been a long time, we've been on this pathway, but we have seen this growth in these golden eggs. And not everyone really appreciates them quite yet, or sees the value of those eggs. So we're hoping that as you are all leaving, you all do because you're here, but when you leave here, you're gonna create ripple effects with what you're doing. So that's really exciting. And the other thing I'm really pointing out here is worldview. I mean, we live in a state that has a mindset of a fossil fuel economy. We are a coal state. That's what we hear all the time. We were an oil state. We were the first oil drillers. We were a coal state. Now we're a natural gas state. That's not really true if you look at some of the pieces of the economy, and particularly with jobs. So that's what I'm going to be talking to you today about. And really, this is what we are talking about, this mind shift and change in worldview. So we're talking about energy, but actually, we're really talking about that change and shift in worldview. So I'm going to throw lots of jobs numbers at you and lots of data. First, from a couple different reports, the E2 and Keystone Energy Efficiency Association, or KEA, came out with the Clean Jobs PA report, and I think you've got links to that in some of your materials. That was using 2015 data. Then the same researcher that we used, BW Partnership, the DOE said, oh, we want to be doing these jobs data too. So they did the same kind of analysis with the Department of Energy and came out just recently with the Energy and Employment Report. That's using 2016 data. So I'm just going to fly through that. I'm not going to talk about the methodology of the reports. If you want to get into all that, we can talk about that later. Then I'm going to say, touch a little bit on why this clean energy job economy is growing. It's not something that's just a fad or that we're going to see. It really has staying power. And really creating a clean economy vision, which is what you are all doing here today, which is really exciting. And I love that Sharon said that rural America really matters, and it does. I grew up in Tioga County in Wellsboro, so I love, and my heart is in rural America. And I think there's a great opportunity all across this country for everybody to participate in this new economy. So I'm going to dive in, fly through these numbers. Here's the exciting news. Here are the golden eggs. 3 million clean energy jobs in America now. That's what we have now, and we are just getting started. Most of those jobs are in the energy efficiency field. 2.2 million jobs. People installing, high efficiency HVAC or green building materials or manufacturing. A lot of those are in manufacturing and construction jobs. Huge percent of those. And across our economy. Then, of course, we've got renewable energy, solar and wind, almost 500,000 jobs, people employed in these industries. Combined solar and wind are rapidly gaining on all the fossil fuel and electric power sector. And 2015 to 2016, solar jobs grew 25% in that 1 year. Wind jobs grew 32%. This is an unbelievable phenomenon that's happening in our economy. And I just want to touch on this is because when we look at the electric power generation, we know that renewables still are a very small percentage. Again, we're just getting started, but if you look at that, nationwide, solar employment makes up 43% of our entire electric power generation workforce. And this is the amount of power we're generating from these different sources. That's a tiny amount. Imagine if we're generating this level of generation, how many jobs does that mean? So that's really the carrot. That's the exciting piece about this, is that we are just getting started. Fossil fuel employment in the coal, natural gas, and oil sectors, really only 22% in the power generation sector. If we come down, and also in this sector, we're including clean vehicles, hybrids, electric vehicles, all those things that you see there, and also battery storage. This is a very fast growing sector, and also smart grid, microgrid, geothermal, and other non-woody biomass, biodiesel, and ethanol. So lots of opportunities in these sectors. If we narrow this is all coming from the Department of Energy report that I mentioned. So if we focus down onto Pennsylvania, again, most of those jobs, we've got more than 70,000 jobs in the clean energy sector. Most of those, again, coming from the energy efficiency sector. These are jobs that cross all sorts of educational levels, from entry to installation, jobs that require little training, to those that are very high tech, to engineering and software developers, manufacturing. Imagine all the components that need to be created for the technologies that we're employing. Whoops. Back to Pennsylvania, solar and wind, again, lots of jobs there, over 7,000 in Pennsylvania in the solar and wind sector. And if you look, this is pulling out the electricity generation sector all across the board. And you can see solar and wind, and this is just Pennsylvania, tiny amount. We're less than, solar energy is less than 0.5% in Pennsylvania. Wind is less than 2%. But look how many jobs that people are now working in these sectors, way more than these other coal, natural gas, and oil. And to clarify, I think most of these are nuclear energy jobs here in this other category. Again, solar and renewables make up a large percentage of this, fossil fuel a smaller percent. And we see that the clean energy jobs are outpacing fossil fuels over 2 to 1. So this is not to say that the fossil fuel jobs are not important, because they're going to be remaining part of our economy for a long time. But the trend and where we're going in the economy is towards these jobs and towards these sectors. So it's important in planning, and as you're all doing, is creating that vision about, thinking about where that's going. Here, if we add up, electric power, fuel generation, most of that's our fuel extraction, obviously mostly fossil fuel, energy efficiency, we get, over 74,000 jobs just in the renewable energy and energy efficiency sector. The same thing true on the national level again. Solar, even more jobs than all the fossil fuel jobs together. And here's a trend for Pennsylvania that we're seeing every year. This is growing just like it is across the nation. These are a lot of jobs, but we could be doing even a lot more than that if our policies would actually work towards that. And that's something we'll talk about later. If you look in the E2 report, you can have this breakdown by county about the number of jobs. Again, this is the 2015 data, but we pull out the top 10, and Allegheny County is actually number 1. Most of that's manufacturing, and also installation jobs. And I pulled out the counties here, Indiana and the surrounding counties. You have hundreds of people working in this economy. Sometimes people that you may not classify as a clean energy job, but people who are installing HVAC, high energy efficiency appliances, those people are counted in this clean energy economy. And I did want to pull this out from the report too, that most of these jobs, a lot of them are in manufacturing and installation and maintenance. So there's a great opportunity there. Again, those are jobs that cannot be outsourced. They are local jobs, and they're jobs that will stay in your community. I want to point to the mapping project. So you see those reports, great, we've got 70,000 jobs, but where the heck are they in Pennsylvania? And because of the way the analysis is done, we don't know where all of those companies are yet. So we are on a process to try to identify where they are. And so we have a mapping project. If you go to etu.org PA map, you can see this. And you can click on it and see where most of these businesses are, these little dots. Not the red dots are little solar installations, but the other colored dots are businesses. So Indiana County doesn't have a lot right now, but that just doesn't mean that they don't exist. It's just that we don't have them yet. So there's a registry on that. We encourage your if you know businesses, ask them to sign up on the registry so we can get you on the map. So that's really important. So the other thing I want to point out here, obviously, it makes sense. You'd see most of these businesses clustered around the more urban areas, right? But the thing about Pennsylvania that I think is really cool is that while a lot of these businesses are in the urban areas, the rural areas actually have the majority of the renewable energy generation. So that's what these are the counties and you can hover over these layers and to see how much renewable energy are in these counties. Obviously, around us here, got lots of wind. There's also some hydro in there too, but that wind industry has that. So there's opportunities across all of Pennsylvania for these jobs. And here are some you can see most of the top ranking renewable energy generation counties. Most of them are rural counties. And again, wind and hydro, you can see there. Here's just an example of clicking on the businesses, and you can see the actual business name. We're going to hope to put websites on there as well. And I just wanted to lift up a couple businesses that I have learned about here, and I think you're going to learn a little bit more later. But Upstreet Architects, are you guys here? Thank you. So I will let you talk more about your business, but it's great to, green building sector is also another growing, again, energy efficiency, but that includes all of this. So they've done a lot of certified green developments, and hopefully it's okay, I pulled out just one of them because it was one that was nearby, and I thought was really cool was the Housing Authority of Indiana County and this Grandview Point. And if you look here, there's solar on each of these rooftops. So really kind of cool affordable housing done with that. Imagine if we did all our buildings in that, and also high energy efficiency, what that could do for energy for the users and the owners of those buildings or people living there, or for the jobs that create those. So I think that's a great example of that. And we have a couple other companies I pulled out, Miller Plumbing and Heating and Davis Brothers Heating and Plumbing. High efficiency furnaces, we don't think about this, but every time you're replacing furnaces, they're going to usually be higher efficiency. And so they're going to have energy savings there and go along. And there's little smart home meters that you see. And Ecodyne, you're going to hear from them later. They're building their own, designed a new wind turbine. So lots of you already starting this economy, you've got lots of people already working in it, and now you're going to be stimulating that with this. I did want to just touch on why we are seeing this change. And there's lots of words up there, but basically on the fossil fuel sector, energy pricing will always be unpredictable and volatile. This has been the history, and there's a reason for that, because the cost of fossil fuel is based on market forces on this profit-making paradigm. So this is about extraction and the market. That's what pricing is based on. Where renewables and clean energy is based on technology. And just like every other technology, smartphones, computers, everything you see, you'll see this adoption rate. And as the adoption rate grows, the technology becomes cheaper and cheaper. and it's, you know, a circular event. So this is why this is not stopping. This is going to continue to grow and grow and grow. We are not subject to these extraction forces. Wind and the heat from the earth and the sun are all free energy sources. You don't have to pay to get them. You just have to pay for the technologies. Once you have the technology, there you have it. So I think it's just like a different way to think about our energy, these different energy sources, about where they're coming from. Again, fossil fuels actually have been around for many decades or centuries, and they're still relying on millions of dollars of subsidies to exist. And we see here in Pennsylvania how the nuclear energy, which is not a fossil fuel, but old technology, is now asking for more subsidies from taxpayers, as you see that happening if you're following the news. Harvard, there's also, we see huge societal subsidies that we've been paying with fossil fuels, with health and environmental subsidies that we, the taxpayers or private citizens, are paying for. Harvard Medical School estimates that the coal costs US $500 billion just in societal costs every year. So if you're thinking about how much your electricity costs, really we're adding on another 10 cents to 30 cents per kilowatt hour to that energy cost that's really not calculated in there. So when we're comparing costs, that is something, you know, as you're making policies and thinking about that, to take into consideration what are the other costs that we're paying for. On the clean energy side, again, the costs are really based on the technology, and really most of that cost is based on labor costs, where on the fossil fuel industry, we've seen the loss of labor and actually an increase in the amount of extraction, but we don't need as many people for that economy anymore. But we need a lot of people, many more people per megawatt hour to install that kind of technology in the clean energy sector. And the clean energy is dominating market for new electricity. So last year, very exciting, solar and wind comprised 62% of all new electricity coming on to the grid in this nation. That is really amazing. That's more than natural gas or coal or oil for new electricity. So very exciting trend that is happening. And we see, here's just a little headline about that particular statistic, and a little graph to show you how solar is ramping up so rapidly every year. This is just 2016. This year we see almost a doubling of that too. So it is rapidly growing. We see grid parity, so we see in some states, up to 20 states, where we have close to grid parity on solar with some of the existing, like the tax credit that we have now. Pennsylvania is right here, so we're getting there. Grid parity means that it's almost, we're at the cost of electricity is almost what it is for the fossil fuel or the grid as it is now. And I just really want to point out that policy makes all the difference in this. So we have 70,000 clean energy jobs, which is amazing, right? However, if you look at a state like Massachusetts, has half the population, but look at the number of energy efficiency jobs they have, over 80,000 to our 62, solar jobs over 20,000. And this is all because of the policies that they have put in place. Our policies in 2004, 0.5% of solar by 2021 was a very progressive policy at the time, and now we're way behind. So you have the ability to talk to legislators and tell them, this is what you want for your community. This is what we want as a society. So that's really important policy. California, over 100,000 people working in the solar industry. Really amazing. So what if we increased our goal? You're going to hear about finding our solar future project later today, but that goal is 10% solar. What if we did that? That's 20 times as much solar is required now from our regulations. Does that mean if we times 20, we're up to almost 100,000 solar jobs here in Pennsylvania? Same with wind. We have less than 2% of wind coming, electricity from wind. That could mean up to 33,000 jobs. And that's just in those two sectors, not even to mention our energy efficiency sector. So this is the opportunity, right? We have 6,000 companies right now in Pennsylvania working in this economy. How do we grow that and grow those 70,000 jobs? That's really the vision I think a lot of us have for our society, for our communities, right? And we see that happening all over the place. So you're going to be embarking on this conversation, which is really great. And I don't have the answers for you. I have a few suggestions, which you're probably already doing a lot of these things. But again, supporting policies and being very vocal. And right now is a very important time to do that on the federal and state and local level about these policies and protecting the policies that we have in place, but also growing them around energy efficiency, renewable energy, low carbon, and I would say the clean power plant or a tax on carbon maybe is a possibility. Educating your citizens like what you're doing right now, but to keep doing that and telling them this is a vision. This is all new technology. A lot of people have never intersected with solar and some of these energy efficiency technologies. So it is really a shift in worldview. Working with others, and Sharon touched on this, that the city and the counties, we're all connected, and how important is it to create a vision together if we could do that? And working with the state government, with Governor Wolf's administration, to create these clusters of manufacturing and clean jobs expansion. Creating that vision, is something really you want to embark on, and daring to lead. So Sharon getting up here and saying that she is daring to lead and to put a voice on that is just huge and really important, and that's going to be one of the things that drives this. Maybe you're looking at increasing incentive to attract those kind of businesses here in this community, and collaborating with your university, which it already seems like you're doing, to use that as an incubator for clean energy businesses like CMU, and I know Dr. Collins is going to talk a little bit about some of those things later. But creating this pipeline, a new kind of pipeline around opportunity zones. So how about identifying some of these are all manufacturing, a few I pulled out, manufacturing companies over here when I was talking to folks in this area, but we have lots of them in this area, and how do we identify them? And we've seen this happening in the natural gas sector. Totally, this is very strategic about building a pipeline. So let's build this pipeline for the clean energy economy. So this is the old golden egg. You see, this is a coal mining scheme. So you can actually buy this online. But now we'll move that over and we'll bring our goose back. So I hope that that this is a great day for you and a great conversation, and I'm excited that you're part of this. So thank you, and I think we have some time for questions.
For the League of Women Voters of Pennsylvania will ask. We have time for like 2 to 3 questions, but thank you for submitting.
What do you mean by social costs of the fossil fuel economies? Could you elaborate a little bit on that, please?
Sure. So societal costs are those things that we don't actually directly pay for when you pay your electric bill, right? You're just paying for the energy to get to you and the lines, to keep those lines maintained. But we have a lot of other costs that we're paying for in health costs. We know that the asthma rates around coal-fired plants in particular are very, very high. Climate change is probably the largest societal cost that we're facing because of the burning of fossil fuels. And to say that this is where we are, it's still April, and you look out and see what's happening. This is the new norm. So we're paying for that. The environmental effects, we have decimated thousands of miles of streams in Pennsylvania. And there's a lot of land that's, you're going to hear about mine reclamation. So the list kind of goes on and on and on. And these are all costs that are picked up later by society to fix these problems. So we don't have as many of these societal impacts and costs with the clean energy economy as we do with the fossil fuel.
What's going on in Harrisburg with solar legislation? If you want to expand that to other forms of renewables, please be our guest.
Yeah, and I think Hal Savile's going to talk a little bit about this too, but we're working on, a lot of us are working on this bill, Senate Bill 404, which will close the borders, as we say, in Pennsylvania. So right now, any solar system in the PJM territory, which is our electric grid of 13 states, can sell their solar into Pennsylvania. So they get credits called solar renewable energy credits. So if you have a solar system on your house, you'll earn maybe 5 or 6 credits. You can sell them on this market and they get traded. Utilities buy those credits to fulfill their requirement of that 0.5% of solar by 2021. Those credits used to be worth about $300. Now they're worth about $5. And that's really destroyed investment into solar. We've lost many, many companies in Pennsylvania in this industry. Even though it's growing, we've still lost a lot of people and jobs. So this bill will close that border, only allow Pennsylvania systems to get credit for their systems. Now we've got huge systems from North Carolina and Virginia stealing our credits. So that bill will be helpful. There's a bill called Senate Bill 234, is a PACE bill, Property Assessed Clean Energy, for commercial and industrial buildings. This is a great opportunity for financing. So financial lenders can work with the building owners to finance this on your tax bill. So it would be a long-term payback, like 20 years. It could be set up to do that. And that stays with the property if it sells. This has been used in 30 some states. There's a lot of momentum. Both these bills are sponsored by Republicans, have bipartisan support. But they need to hear from you to support them. So those are 2 really great bills that are passing. We have a tax on Act 129, which is our energy efficiency bill, which has created thousands of jobs. All those energy efficiency jobs mainly come from Act 129. There's a bill that's assaulting Act 129. I don't remember the name of it yet. The bill actually was just submitted. That was the old one. That was last session. There's a new, I can get you that information. So those bills are really important to protect. So those are the 3 main bills that I know that we're working on, and we're part of a climate coalition of 30 some organizations in Pennsylvania that are working on all these issues.
That's it.